Let's make some just plain old shrimp jambalaya, just the way they do in New Orleans. First thing we do, I peel the shrimps, and I'm not going to throw away the shell from the shrimps. I'm going to boil it up to get as much flavor out of those shrimp skins to flavor the rice. So I'm putting just about a quart of water in there. It really doesn't matter how much you put, just as long as you cover the shrimps. And let them boil. It doesn't take too long to extract flavor out of those shells. So when they're boiling, you simmer them for about 10 minutes, and we're going to strain that and use that as the stock to make the rice. Now I'm not going to cook the shrimps with the rice, and why? Because the shrimps take, what, just a few minutes to cook? And how long is rice? 15 to 17 minutes? So I want juicy shrimps, not dried shrimps. I'm using Uncle Ben's long grain rice. If you want to use Carolina rice, that's fine. And you know what? If you want to use basmati rice or jasmine rice, if that's what you love, go right ahead. These are the basic ingredients. We have the Holy Trinity, which in Cajun is peppers, onions, celery, and garlic. Sounds like 4. Okay, the Trinity is onions, pepper, and celery. We have thyme, cayenne pepper, sea salt, fresh tomato sauce, but you can use chopped up fresh tomato, scallions. That's it. And it's how you put it together which makes it tasty. So we'll let this come to a boil, 10 minutes, strain it, then we'll go to the next step. I increased the amount of liquid because I forgot we're going to blanch or poach or just boil the shrimps for just a minute or two to extract the flavor out of them even more. And right now this aroma is permeating through the house. It is such a waste to throw out the shrimp peelings. And what isn't traditionally done, but I'm going to do, it's optional. I'm putting a half a cup of white wine into the poaching liquid because I like the flavor. Now you know the companies that sell the shrimps in a bag that are peeled and deveined. What do they do with the skins? I think I know. There are companies that sell shrimp base, and the top of the line is minors. Wouldn't you think they would dry this out and then pulverize it into a powder and make it paste? Just to enhance a dish. And we could turn this into a shrimp bisque also, but that's another recipe. So you see, you don't want to waste the bones of chicken or duck. Use them to make your sauces. And we're going to blanch the turn this on high. Put a teaspoon of salt into this, sea salt. And we're going to boil the shrimps until they're almost done. And then we're going to cook the rice separate. And when the rice is cooked, you heat up the shrimp separate, because to heat them up in the rice takes a little bit too long. So you have your hot rice and you have your hot, nice, juicy shrimps, not dried out. You mix them together and you serve it. And you make sure the rice is seasoned well. We will do that, of course. I'm going to put some white wine into this, and a little bit into me. Now if you were making, let's say, shrimp cocktail, the best way to do that is to season up the water with a mirepoix, carrots, onions, celery, boil that for about a half hour, take it out, make sure you have there is salt in the water so you can slightly taste the salt, and put some cayenne pepper into that. Then boil your shrimps for just a few minutes, peel them, and that's a tasty shrimp for a shrimp cocktail. That's not the way they do it up here in the north, but that's the way they do it down there in the south, and they know what they're doing, especially in New Orleans, or Norleans as they say. Cajun food is my favorite food. Okay, now the shrimps are starting to boil. That's it, they're done. And these are about a 30 count shrimp. That means there's about 30 to the pound. You can use whatever size you want. You can use jumbo shrimps, but of course they take a little longer to cook. And if you use a smaller shrimp, they'll take less time to cook. Now, it's too much liquid there for the amount of, you know what, just squeeze, put a little garlic butter all over that. Alright, eat it just like that. Little too much stock for the amount of rice. So let this boil down a little bit. And don't forget the tomatoes. Tomatoes are almost all water. So the tomatoes will be part of the liquid to cook the rice. Whether you use tomato sauce like I have here, or you take a fresh plum tomato or vine ripened tomato and chop it up, but you would use the same amount. So just remember that, because if you put too much liquid into the rice, it's going to be a little overcooked. Now you could try doing it the way most people do it. When we go about sauteing the vegetables, you would saute the shrimps with the vegetables, add the rice, add the stock, and cook it. And then you let me know when it's finished if those shrimps aren't a little dried compared to the way we're doing it here. Well, since I'm using a cup and a quarter of rice, and rice takes, it's 1 to 1.5. That means we need 1.5 cups of stock for the rice, and a quarter would be a quarter and an eighth of a cup. So that's what we need to boil this down to, and even less. I'd rather have to add liquid to it to make up the amount that I need than to lose the liquid that's reducing here. So really let this go down to maybe just a cup and a half. That's the bell to remind me to have another glass of wine.